You won't believe what happened to me.
What happened?
Don't ask.
Is Lady Luck still slapping you around?
Now, what's the big deal? I've only been in there for a few minutes.
Yeah, a few minutes short of a week.
I just wanted to say goodnight, kids.
Arnold, come in! Arnold! Please, come in! Dudley, you can't hear me unless this is in your ear.
Diff'Rent Strokes Exposed. The untold drama behind the laughter. Hey folks, if you were a kid or teenager in the late 70s and early 80s, Diff'Rent Strokes surely captured your heart. Before we continue, don't forget to hit that like button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming videos revealing secrets from the series that defined generations. Diff'Rent Strokes wasn't just another sitcom. It was a cultural phenomenon that broke racial and social barriers, bringing to our screens the unusual story of two black brothers from Harlem, Arnold and Willis Jackson, adopted by a white Manhattan millionaire, Philip Drummond. But behind Arnold's contagious smile and his famous catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" lurked a dark reality that few fans know about. Our story begins with Gary Coleman, the boy who brought the unforgettable Arnold Jackson to life. Born on February 8, 1968, Gary wasn't just a talented child actor. He was a comedy prodigy with perfect timing who won America over. But what many don't know is that Gary almost never became Arnold Jackson. Before Diff'Rent Strokes, Gary was already shining in television commercials and had auditioned for a new version of The Little Rascals in 1978. When that project was canceled, it seemed his chance at stardom had vanished. That's when Fred Silverman, the powerful NBC president at the time, saw something special in that little boy and insisted on creating a role for him. Thus, Arnold Jackson was born, a character that originally didn't even exist in the show's initial concept. The original pilot for Diff'Rent Strokes was completely different. The initial idea was to show just one black boy being adopted by a rich white man. But Gary Coleman's charisma was so extraordinary that producers rewrote the concept to include two brothers, bringing in Todd Bridges to play Willis. This decision forever changed the course of American television. When the series premiered on November 3, 1978, no one could have predicted its cultural impact. Diff'Rent Strokes was revolutionary in showing an interracial family in prime time, something practically unprecedented at the time. But this boldness came at a high cost for the cast. Conrad Bain, the actor who played Mr. Drummond, began receiving hate mail and even death threats from white supremacist groups who couldn't accept the idea of a white man raising black children. In a rarely cited interview, Bain revealed, "There were people who truly believed we were promoting some kind of dangerous agenda. It was absurd, but also frightening." Todd Bridges, who played Willis, also suffered constant racial harassment, even as a celebrity. "People would curse at me on the street. They called me a sellout for working on a series with a white father," Todd revealed years later. "As a teenager, it deeply affected me. I was just doing my job, but I felt like I was betraying my community in the eyes of some people." Despite these external pressures, the cast formed a strong bond behind the scenes. Conrad Bain, in particular, became a real father figure to Gary Coleman, whose relationship with his biological parents was already deteriorating due to financial disputes. "Conrad was the father I wished I had," Gary admitted in a rare candid interview. "He protected me on set and gave me advice my own parents never gave me." Speaking of finances, here's a shocking revelation. Despite being the undisputed star of the show, Gary Coleman started earning just $1,800 per episode, an absurdly low amount considering he was the center of the series. His parents, who managed his career, fought for successive raises, and by the second season, his salary jumped to $30,000 per episode. Eventually, after intense negotiations, Gary came to earn $70,000 per episode, making him the highest-paid comedy actor on NBC at that time. But here's the tragic side of this story. Despite earning millions during his career, Gary Coleman died virtually bankrupt in 2010. Why? Because his parents and financial advisors misappropriated much of his fortune. When Gary finally came of age and took control of his finances, he discovered that of the $18 million he had earned, only $220,000 remained. He sued his parents and won a $1.3 million settlement in 1993. But legal and medical costs consumed much of that amount. And speaking of health, Few know that Gary Coleman's short stature wasn't a natural genetic characteristic. Gary suffered from a rare congenital kidney disease called nephritis, which required multiple kidney transplants throughout his life. The immunosuppressive medications he needed to take daily to prevent rejection of the transplanted organs had the side effect of stunting his growth. Doctors said he would never exceed 4'8" in height. This medical condition affected not just his appearance, but also his day-to-day life on set. There were days when Gary suffered intense pain, but still showed up for filming. Dana Plato, who played Kimberly Drummond, revealed years later, Gary was the most professional of all of us, even being the youngest. There were days when he could barely stand, but he never complained. He just said, "Let's shoot," and delivered perfect performances. Diff'Rent Strokes wasn't just revolutionary for its racial representation, but also for its willingness to address serious topics rarely discussed in family sitcoms. The series produced several very special episodes that dealt with issues such as racism, child abuse, drug use, eating disorders, and even pedophilia. The famous two-part episode where a sexual predator tries to abuse Arnold and his friend Dudley is considered one of the bravest moments in 80s television. Norman Lear, the legendary TV producer who revolutionized sitcoms with series like All in the Family and The Jeffersons, was an uncredited creative consultant on several of these special episodes. "We wanted to use humor to open doors for difficult conversations in American families," Lear explained. "When you make people laugh, they lower their guard and become more receptive to important messages." Dana Plato, who played Mr. Drummond's biological daughter, Kimberly, perhaps had the most tragic trajectory after the series ended. During the final seasons, Dana became pregnant and was almost completely removed from the show, appearing only sporadically. After Diff'Rent Strokes ended, her career collapsed, and she struggled with drug addiction for years. In a desperate turn of events, Dana went so far as to rob a video store in Las Vegas in 1991, pointing a pellet gun at the clerk and fleeing with $164. She was arrested shortly after. In a moving interview given to Howard Stern's show in 1999, Dana seemed to finally be regaining control of her life, talking about her recent sobriety. Tragically, she died of an overdose the very next day, at age 34. Todd Bridges, the Willis of the series, also faced his own demons after the show ended. He dove deeply into crack and methamphetamine abuse and was arrested several times for weapons possession and drug-related charges. In 1989, he was even tried for attempted murder but was ultimately acquitted. "I was so lost that I didn't even recognize myself anymore," Todd confessed years later. "There were days when I would wake up and not know where I was or what I had done the night before." Fortunately, Todd managed to turn his life around. In 1993, he finally achieved sobriety and began rebuilding his life and career. Today, he is a motivational speaker who shares his recovery journey to inspire others. Gary Coleman, despite avoiding the drug problems that afflicted his castmates, faced his own challenges. His short stature limited him to specific roles, and he struggled to be taken seriously as an adult actor. His personal life was also tumultuous, with a troubled marriage and several embarrassing public incidents, including an assault conviction after an incident where he punched a fan who persistently asked for his autograph. In a touching moment of his later career, Gary made a memorable guest appearance in the finale of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in 1996, where he revived his Arnold character alongside Conrad Bain as Mr. Drummond. In the scene, Arnold uses his famous catchphrase, and Mr. Drummond comments that, "It was much funnier when you were a kid," a meta-comment that reflected Gary's own struggles to overcome his past as a child star. Conrad Bain, unlike his young castmates, had a stable life after Diff'Rent Strokes. He continued acting occasionally until retiring in the early 90s, living a quiet life away from the spotlight until his death in 2013, at age 89. In one of his last interviews, he reflected on the legacy of the series. "I think we showed that families come in all shapes and colors. What matters is love and respect, not DNA. The legacy of Diff'Rent Strokes goes far beyond its commercial success, 189 episodes over 8 seasons, or the personal tragedies of its cast. The series was pioneering in showing that sitcoms could be both funny and socially relevant. It opened doors for future series with interracial families and proved that American audiences were ready to see more diverse representations on screen. When we think of Arnold Jackson's contagious smile and his unforgettable catchphrase, We're really witnessing a transformative moment in American pop culture, a moment that came at a high price for the children who made us. Laugh and sometimes cry. Diff'Rent Strokes reminds us that behind the laugh tracks and emotional moments, there are real people with real struggles. The show gave us joy, but its cast paid a high price for our entertainment. Perhaps the true legacy of the series is making us think about how we treat our child stars and how much we really understand about the lives behind the characters we love. Did you watch Diff'Rent Strokes during its original run? What was your favorite episode? Leave us a comment below and don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes revelations from the series that defined an era.